There we go. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Live Limitless series where we are focusing all about having empowered, conscious, and abundant relationships. And actually, life is all about relationships. So it's dealing and living a happy, healthy life and dealing with everything around you in your environment. So, to those of you who do not know me, I'm Nipam Jain, your host, and I love empowering and transforming people's pain and trauma and so that they can reach their full potential. So, today we have someone very special with us, Stephanie McPhail. She is a dream coach. I mean, I was very much it sounds so interesting that, dream coach. And she has a double master's degree in health and education, a bachelor's in psychology, author, Reiki practitioner, and she specializes in helping brilliant women date up, giving them tools to thrive after codependency and narcissist abuse. And if they decide to date again, date up. So, Stephanie, over to you, and really would like to know about your journey. And this, the dream coach is something very fascinating I'm finding. So, if you can just talk a little bit about it and let us know what exactly you do.
Sure. Well, thank you so much, first off, for having me. I really appreciate being able to come on the show and share my knowledge because I think that the unhealthy relationships are so common, but they're one of those things that we don't talk about. It's this like hidden kind of gray, toxic thing that nobody ever talks about. And the more hidden it is, the more toxic it is. And so when I started sharing my story, I kind of felt like I was a minority. I felt like there was not a lot of people that were dealing with these types of unhealthy relationships and that it was just me and I was so screwed up. And, I'm going to share my story, but you asked about the dream coach. When I knew that I wanted to help other women overcome unhealthy relationships, I decided to learn how to be a coach. And so a dream coach, what that does is it helps people follow their dreams.
Wow.
So, living in purpose, living in your passion, and discovering who you truly are. Because when you've been in these toxic relationships, you've completely lost yourself. You don't know who you are anymore. At least I didn't, and the clients that I work with didn't. And it's important to be able to refocus and come back to ourselves and find out who we are and who we were put on this earth to be.
Lovely, amazing. I so love that. And actually, it is really so important to have your dream come true and be passionate about fulfilling it. And how I think very few of us do that and could are able to achieve it, right?
Yeah, and we live kind of half awake a lot of the times. We
Yeah.
live feeling what we think culture wants us to be. We live thinking what our family wants us to be, and we don't live what our actual purpose is because we're trying so hard to make everybody else happy. And
True.
that's kind of where I was when I started this whole journey is, I was in a family where my parents argued a lot, but they stayed together. My first long-term relationship was unhealthy. And I was in my late 20s. I thought I was getting older and I had to settle down. So there was a guy who was nice. He seemed nice. He was a friend of a friend's. This friend warned me that he was not the best of guy, but I saw potential. I saw that there was possibility in our relationship. And so I started dating him and I pretty quickly saw red flags. But because I was 28 and I thought I was getting older, I wanted to have a family and settle down, I kind of ignored those red flags. And before we got married, I really should have just stopped the marriage to begin with. But again, I was focused on getting married and having a family and settling down. So I ignored everything, got married. And on our wedding night, he actually, we had this beautiful suite. We got married in a place called Ohika Castle, which is in Long Island, New York, which is like the stars go to. This is a beautiful, beautiful place, like fairy tale type of
Yes,
place.
I have been
And he
there, and it's
yeah, so it should have been a happy thing, right?
yes.
And all my family was there. I had family from Europe. Like everyone came to visit from all over. And it was the most beautiful day of my life. And that night we went to our honeymoon suite. And my new husband, put some water in the tub for us to take a bath. And there was this big, beautiful marbled, fancy bathroom. And I went to go put my foot in the tub. And when I did that, some water spilled onto the floor. And he said, just like Stephanie to ruin everything. And I said, okay, babe, let's not ruin the whole day. Well, that was the wrong thing to say. And for the next 4 to 5 hours, he chased me around our honeymoon suite while I was naked, told me he wanted to kill me, told me he wished he'd throw me out the window, took his wedding band, threw it at me. Um, just really made it. And I was scared because I had nowhere to go. I was naked. I was afraid. I didn't want to run into the hallway. I was embarrassed. And I had just married this man. So, I'm kind of thinking like what I can do as he's chasing me out. There's different rooms. So I'm hiding in the different rooms with my body against the door so he can't come in. And finally, it ends with him taking me and throwing me on the four-post bed that we had in our bedroom, throwing it on and starts strangling me.
Oh my
And I
God.
thought, oh my gosh, this man that I married is going to kill me on our wedding night, the most beautiful day. He's going to kill me. And I was struggling, and I started to get more and more weak. And I started to stop struggling. And luckily, the darkness that was in his eyes, and if you've seen anyone lose their temper to that extent, there's a darkness that comes over them. And luckily, the darkness went away. He realized what he was doing, and he got off me and walked away with his head hanging down. And I curled up in a ball and just started crying. And I thought, I can't be married to this man. I'm so embarrassed. I had the person that married us, I had known him since I was 12 years old. How could I tell him that this is what happened? I mean, all of it was just all my family that had come from Europe, all the money that was wasted. I'm thinking about all of these things. And he comes over and, of course, starts telling me all the things that I was already having thoughts about. Well, what would your family say? And don't worry about it. It's never going to happen again. And et cetera, et cetera. Finally talks me into going on the honeymoon with him. I say yes. It takes me a few days, and it ended up being nice. We actually ended up having a nice time. It only took about 3 months for the abuse to continue. And so for the next 5 years, I was strangled again. I was spit on. I was shoved. I was woken up in the middle of the night and had things thrown at me. There was psychological abuse. He wouldn't talk to me for 2 weeks at a time because he didn't like what I said while we were out in public. There was a lot of different things that went on. And I kind of felt like that's how my life was going to be. And I was trying to just be in survival mode and try to figure out what I could do differently to make him stop treating me that way.
Yes.
And anyone who's watching, if you are in a situation where your relationship has gotten to that place of physical violence, has come to that place of abuse, no matter what you say or do, that's not going to change who they are as a person. There's
Yes.
no need to walk on eggshells. And they call it gaslighting, where the person will
Yes.
twist things around and make it seem like it's all your fault. So it confuses us, and it makes us feel more trapped inside the relationship because we start thinking, well, who would want me? I'm older now. I've already been married. I don't want to, I don't want to embarrass my family by getting a divorce. Like all of those things that I was thinking about
And
that
actually,
you might be
it's so
thinking
huge.
about watching.
Yes.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so what you're saying is like it's so huge, like for us, that what people will say, what our families will think, and will ever anyone accept me? This fear of telling and going, and rejections from people, the judgments of people, is really huge, right?
It's huge. And it's because of what we've been taught. My parents were very, they went to church every Sunday. They were very religious. That was something my parents stayed together, even though things were difficult. So I had learned, and so like in my book, is Being Loved Shouldn't Hurt. I had learned growing up that love was actually something that was really uncomfortable, that you had to fight for, and that you stood by your husband no matter what. That was something that you just did. So when I saw things going badly, all of those memories that I had of childhood and growing up, they started coming into my mind. And I thought, well, this is just the cards that I was dealt. I have to be there for him and help him through this. It was like, I felt like it was my job to help him get better.
Yes, definitely. We think it's our job actually, but then how did you overcome it? How did you made a difference in your life and what you are today? So what was a twisting point?
Well, it's actually interesting because he stopped working. He was working as a waiter. I was a teacher. I worked another job I was the one taking care of all the bills. And because he kept saying the reason why he was so stressed out is because he was overwhelmed from work. And I said, and even then, I've always been good at seeing the potential in people. Well, anyone who's watching this, you don't date or marry potential. You date and marry the actual person. You don't date them to change them and fix them. So keep that in the back of your mind, because people like us that are high achieving, that are used to being successful, we think we're going to mold them and make them into what we want. Ladies, it doesn't happen. You can't do it. So don't do it. But yeah, so he was not working, or he was working as a waiter. I was working a second job, and he sent me a text message and told me that he quit. And I looked at the text message and I said, is this guy for real? Like, he's been cursing at me. He's been screaming at me. He's been threatening me. He's been physically abusive. He'd been sexually abusive. I mean, you name it. And I'm looking at this message and I'm thinking, here I am working another job, and he quit his job. And so I sent the message back and I said, sweetheart, just please tell them that you lost your temper and you want your job back. And he said, his response was, I'll make it more G-rated because it wasn't very nice. But he said, just like Stephanie, to not support her husband. And I thought, really? This is his response? And since I had already spoken to some friends about possibly staying at a friend's house that he didn't really know, that moment, I decided that was it. I had already started to make my arrangements of getting out of there. And so I texted my friend and said, is that offer still open? Can I come stay with you? She said yes. And so for the next few months, I stayed with her. This was my home. I left my own home just for my own safety because I knew that he would probably not react very well. And so I left and I went through the divorce process. It got a lot worse before it got better. But I realized in that whole journey that the common denominator was me, because I had only been in unhealthy relationships. I had never experienced a healthy relationship in my entire adult life. Even as a teenager, I had never experienced that. So what I needed to do, and what I realized, is that I had to work on me. There was something about me that was attracting the wrong types of people that were not healthy for me. So there must have been something in me that wasn't healthy. So I did a lot of work on myself and realized I had to be my own knight in shining armor. I had to be the one to find the right therapist, to find the right support community. And so for anyone who's going through this, we don't do this on our own. And I know how hard it is sometimes to ask for help, because again, we're strong, independent people, right? So asking for help can really be uncomfortable, but you've got to ask for help, because the thinking that got you here is not going to be the thinking that gets you out.
Yes, true. I totally agree. Sometimes we think that, okay, asking help is like a second thing. And especially when you're asking things, there's a lot many questions going at the background. Okay, what they will think. Can I ask it? Is it the right step? But definitely finding a right coach, right therapist is really, really important. So how did you manage? I mean, what did you do after that? And how did you said it was an inside job. Something had to be fixed within me because my relationships pattern was like that. Can you just discuss more about it, and what made you find that inside you think?
So it's really interesting. A lot of us women who have been very successful, we have a lot of confidence. I mean, I had confidence. That was not the problem. I could go up and talk to people. I was a teacher. I was getting teacher of the month. I mean, all of these things where I had the confidence, but I didn't have the self-esteem. And there's a difference. I didn't feel good about myself, but I was able to go up and talk to people. So people get confused with those two things. So because there was that piece of me that didn't feel like I deserved a healthy relationship, that I had to be the fixer of everyone. I was the oldest in my family. So I was the go-between with my parents, with my siblings. I was like another mother to my younger sister. I was the caretaker to everybody. And I started to realize I was trying to kind of control my situation, which is a sign of codependency. When you've been in a relationship when you were younger, or at any point where you've had to be the caretaker and you put everybody else's needs above your own, that's one of the signs of codependency. And that was what happened to me. I was worried about everybody else. While I always joke with my clients, I was like on fire and drowning. And if someone said I was okay, I'd be like, yeah, sure, I'm fine. And I'm like, you know,
Very many times, with that self-esteem and the self-confidence, the difference is that there's a very thin line between that, but
yes.
very thin line. Yes.
Yes. And so you have to work on increasing your self-esteem, and that helps you better your boundaries. So you got to have boundaries that you enforce. And so being able to know who you are. So, so working on self-esteem is definitely one tip for you to make some changes. Another one is to know what your values are. What are the things that are non-negotiable for you? What are the things that you have to have in your life and that you will not allow anyone else to destroy? Because I talk to a lot of clients where they say, well, fidelity is a very high value for me, but their husband is cheating on them. Well, then that's got to feel very conflicting, because that's a very strong value for you. What do you do when someone goes against your values? You can't allow them to continue, because if you do, you're going against your values. So you've got to set a boundary there. And the boundary might be to leave. I mean, that might be what it is. For me, if it was something like infidelity, that for me would be, I'm out the door. That would be done. But some people, that's not as big of a deal. That's not as much of a non-negotiable. So you have to know what your values are. So those are definitely two things. One of the things for me is that when I started going through my healing journey, I got a therapist, I got a coach, I built my community. So that's a number 3 tip. You want to make sure that you build your community. You want to have people around you that are healthy, supportive, and want to help you be the best version of you. I stopped hanging around people that were having drama. If I had friends that were in relationships and they were having a lot of drama, I said goodbye. It might not be forever, but I needed to kind of cocoon and to be able to really work on myself. So I made my circle really small. And so the people that I surrounded myself with were healthy people. They were doing the things that I wanted to be doing. They were supportive of me without trying to manipulate me or take advantage of me as a person. They just loved me as a person. And I created the people, or I found the people that would help me be my best version. So another thing that I did, which is really cool, and what I suggest for all of you, is part of learning who you are is to go on a passion quest. Figure out what it is that you love to do, because so many of us, we've been taking care of everybody else for so long, we don't know what we want. So I recommend for all of you who are listening and watching is to go out and actually start trying things out, do little tests and see if you like it. Like, I became a Reiki level 2 practitioner because I was going out and trying things. I went even into coaching because I said, well, let me just try it and see how this works. I did skydiving. I was so afraid of skydiving. I did skydiving. I learned how to fly an airplane, which
Wow.
so cool. But I was afraid of heights. It was something where I was like, let me just try it. So these little things, and you just go out and you try them and you figure out, and you say, hey, I didn't really like that much. Okay, fine. That's fine. Or, hey, that was really cool. I want to do that again. So you start testing out the little things to see what are the things that you actually enjoy, not the other person, not anybody else in your life, but the things that you actually enjoy. And you might be really surprised at what those things are. And as you get to know yourself and you start to actually date yourself, because that's another thing you want to keep in mind, you want to get to know you. Take yourself out, do the fun things with you. And as you start doing that, you will start attracting the people that are more in line with who you are. And because I did all of those things, I actually met a really great guy, and we would have never worked out 10 years ago. But we both say it all the time. We wish we would have met when we were younger, but we weren't there. Neither one of us would have probably got along back then because we had not done all that work. But when we were ready to come together, he had all the things on my list of what I wanted in a relationship. And when I was with him, he added to my life. He didn't take it away, because other relationships always took away. Yeah. And we now are married for 5 years and have 2 beautiful children together. We have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. Yeah. And so, I used to believe that healthy relationships were not for someone like me, that was maybe just not this lifetime, that this was just not something that I was going to get to experience, and it was just meant for somebody else. But all that meant is that I needed to do the right work and then take some time alone, go through that passion quest, figure out who I was, learn my values, increase my self-esteem, learn healthy boundaries. And all of a sudden, here I am. And now I get to do this for all of you and help, thousands of clients change their lives. Had I not done the work, I would not get to do this. Yes. And so for all of you listening, and watching this, I want you to think of what disservice you are doing to the rest of the world by not actually stepping into your full power. So it's a responsibility to work on you and become the best you, because it helps not only you, but it helps the rest of us too.
Yes, the ripple effect will always be around. It will be spread. Yes.
Yep.
So, one question I would like to know, you said self-esteem. So, how does one build self-esteem? I mean, self-love or the best version of you. How one be that? So, by you,
Well, I
can
can give a little tip. So, one thing to do to build your self esteem is to learn how to start trusting yourself again. Because a lot of us, when we've been in these relationships, we don't trust ourselves because we've been lying to ourselves the whole time. We say the relationship is fine. We tell ourselves that we're going to change. We tell ourselves we're going to leave the next time, and we don't. We just don't do it. So we don't trust ourselves. Our gut has been probably trying to warn us, but we haven't been listening. So in order to build self-esteem, you got to build the trust in yourself. And you do that by making it so that you do small wins. Little things that you accomplish over time will build and create that trust back into yourself because you're now actually following through. It's like the person that says, I want to lose 10 pounds and go to the gym 6 days a week, and they don't ever go. And they say, see, I'm a failure. I can't lose weight. No, you did. You bit off more than you could chew. You said too much for yourself. So let's start really small. Let's take those little bites. I'm not sure which wise man said, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
yes,
And as a non-meat eater, that always sounds really terrible, but it's such a good example of how, this big giant thing, whatever it is that we're trying to deal with, instead of looking at it as this big giant thing, we look at it from small perspectives. You look at it from little tiny spots and you make little steps. I mean, sometimes you're feeling really, really bad. Then you can say, okay, I am going to set myself a goal today to get up, take a shower, and call my friends. Because sometimes we're so depressed, even that sounds like a lot of work. So then we set ourselves up for little wins. And the alarm clock goes off, and we lay in bed and we say, okay, I'm going to just get up. I'm going to put my feet on the ground. And you get up and you're like, yeah, I did it. I sat up, and you do a little celebration. And then you get up and you're like, all right, I'm going to go do a shower. You go take a shower, and then, yeah, I took a shower. And that might sound silly to some people, but when you have those wins and you celebrate them, it actually does something to your brain that makes you want to do more of them. So if you're really depressed, do that. And you can start at that really small place, but maybe you're not. Maybe you're just having a hard time with something else, like going to the gym. So you might say, okay, instead of saying I'm going to go 6 days a week for an hour and a half, and eat perfectly healthy all the time, maybe you add green smoothies, drink some, 64 ounces of water. Maybe you start there. Maybe then the next week you go and you do 3 times a week for 30 minutes, or, 5 little wins that are achievable. And over time, that will start to build up your self-esteem because you've been able to accomplish those goals.
lovely. That was so well explained. I mean, small steps takes to a lead bigger this thing. Okay, for
Mm-hmm.
me, I would like to know three important things one should see in relationships to have a happy, healthy relationship. So, what one
Okay.
see that, how to analyze when going to step into that relationship, whether it is going to be a lifelong, a loved one, a good friendship. What are the three things, three pointers you would like suggest?
Well, okay. So I think one of the things that for me was really important is that, and if anyone this resonates for anyone who's watching, but I used to be someone who, as soon as someone was kind of nice to me, like they'd be attractive and they were nice, it was a relationship. And I didn't let them show me who they were because it takes time to get to know someone. Just because someone's nice and they're good looking, it doesn't mean that has to be a relationship. It takes time to get to know each other and know who they really are. And as that happens, as you get to know them, it's okay to say, hey, this isn't working out for me. This isn't, we're just not a good fit. There can be some really nice people out there that are just not the right fit for us. And that's okay. It doesn't make you wrong or a bad person. It doesn't make them wrong or a bad person. But that's why it's so important to know who you are and what you want, because then instead of trying to prove who you are to them,
Yes.
you already know who you are, and they're showing you if this is someone you want in your life. So I think one of the number one things that I can say is to look and see and believe who the person is,
Hmm.
not try to change or fix them. So see who they are, see how they work, and see if that would work well with you. It's not about you proving it to them. It's about them showing you that they deserve to be in your life, that they deserve your time. Because what's more precious in this world but time, you know? So that would be probably number one. The second thing is when I met my now husband, one of the things that was really important for me was, because I had such unhealthy relationships, I wanted him to show me who he was. Okay. So I allowed him to just be. And so one of the things in the beginning for us is that I was brutally honest. I would tell him anything and everything. And I didn't jump into a relationship right away. I said, I'm not really sure I'm ready to date.
Okay.
And he said, okay, well, that's fine. But know that I want to be with you. And, if you still want to date other people or whatever it is, I'm not going to force you to be something that you're not. If you're not ready to be with me, that's fine. So the fact that he wasn't forcing me to be in a relationship with him, we were able to become friends. And so for the few months before we were officially dating, he became my best friend. Wow. And I was able to tell him everything. I mean, I would tell him everything because I was so happy being single. And that's going to be the third tip, is what it is. But I was so happy being single that I didn't need him. I didn't need him. If he was going to be in my life, he had to add to my life. And I started to think about, well, what if we broke up? What should I break up with him? I don't really know. I really do like being single now. This is so nice. And then I kept thinking, well, I'm going to lose something. He's really adding to my life in such a way and really has become so important to me that I want to see where this goes. And it felt like there was something special about him. So becoming best friends with your partner, whoever that's going to be. And then the third one, just enjoy being single. Enjoy that time to not have to explain yourself to anyone else, to make decisions on your own. I mean, I traveled cross country across the United States with a girlfriend, camping. We had a tent. We went to national parks. We went camping. I mean, we had an amazing time, and we were able to just do whatever we wanted to do. And that was freeing. And I was able to see how freeing being single could be. And I wanted to protect that energy. So I knew that when I did find someone, I was going to make sure that that energy was protected. And how do you do that? You find someone who's going to help elevate you, not someone who's going to suck your energy away. And so, I mean, those are definitely some good 3 tips where, if know who you are, love being single, and let them show you who they are, because you can't change who they are. You got to allow them to be.
Amazing, Stephanie. That was really interesting, and also it was quite insightful that how the relationship should be. And whatever the description you gave, that adding on, the person should be adding on. I mean, I so love that. Thank you really for being there and sharing your life journey and the transformation which took place in your life, and now you're making it in the world. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you all the viewers for watching us, and hope this contributes and you learn few tips and elevate your life even. So see you all on the other side. Thank you.